NASA's
NASA's
spending
spending
on its
on its
Artemis
Artemis
program,
program,
which
which
aims to
aims to
establish a
establish
sustainable human presence on and around the moon by the end of the decade, is projected to reach a total of $93 billion by 2025. This ambitious program includes developing the Orion crew capsule and the Space Launch System (SLS) rocket, core elements of Artemis. For comparison, the U.S. spent about $28 billion, equivalent to approximately $280 billion today, on NASA's Apollo moon program between 1960 and 1973. The Artemis program represents a significant investment in space exploration, with the goal of returning astronauts to the lunar surface and paving the way for future missions. The Artemis program has several key objectives. Lunar exploration. Artemis aims to return humans to the moon, establishing a sustainable presence there. This includes landing astronauts on the lunar surface and conducting scientific research. Gateway. NASA plans to build the Lunar Gateway, a space station orbiting the moon. It will serve as a staging point for crewed missions to the lunar surface and beyond. Sustainable presence. Artemis seeks to create a long-term human presence on the moon, enabling research, resource utilization, and international collaboration. Preparation for Mars. Lessons learned from Artemis will inform future crewed missions to Mars. Overall, Artemis represents a significant step toward advancing human space exploration beyond Earth orbit. The Lunar Gateway is a crewed space station designed to orbit the moon, similar to the International Space Station (ISS) around Earth. It will serve as a communication hub, science laboratory, and habitation module for astronauts. As part of the Artemis program, the Gateway represents a multinational collaborative effort involving NASA, the European Space Agency (ESA), the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency (JAXA), the Canadian Space Agency (CSA), and the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center (MBRSC). Here are some key points. Purpose. The Gateway will support both robotic and crewed exploration of the lunar South Pole, providing a staging point for missions beyond low Earth orbit. It's also proposed as the staging point for NASA's deep space transport concept for transport to Mars. Science disciplines. Researchers aboard the Gateway will study planetary science, astrophysics, Earth observation, heliophysics, fundamental space biology, and human health and performance. Construction status. As of April 2024, construction is underway for the initial habitation and propulsion modules. International collaboration. While led by NASA, the Gateway will be developed, serviced, and used in collaboration with international partners and commercial entities. Budget. NASA allocated $817.7 million for the Gateway in its FY 2025 budget. The Gateway represents a crucial step toward expanding human presence beyond Earth orbit, supporting lunar exploration, Mars missions, and deeper solar system exploration. The Lunar Gateway is a multinational collaborative project involving several space agencies. Here are the international partners. European Space Agency (ESA) contributes the International Habitation Module (IHAB) and enhanced lunar communications to the Gateway. The IHAB enhances Gateway capabilities for scientific research, life support systems, and crew living quarters. ESA contractors are currently designing and constructing these modules. Canadian Space Agency (CSA) Canada provides advanced external robotics, including the next-generation robotic arm called Canadarm3. Canadarm3 will move across the Gateway's exterior, enabling various tasks. CSA also supplies robotic interfaces for Gateway modules, facilitating payload installation. Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency (JAXA) contributes critical components to the Gateway's IHAB, such as the environmental control and life support system, batteries, thermal control, and imagery components. These are essential for sustained Gateway operations during crewed and uncrewed periods. Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center (MBRSC) is also part of the Gateway collaboration, although specific contributions are not detailed here. Together, these international partners work toward establishing a dynamic and sustainable lunar exploration architecture, supporting NASA's Artemis campaign. NASA's Space Launch System (SLS), the colossal moon rocket developed for the Artemis program, has faced significant delays and cost overruns during its development. Let's dive into the details. Development timeline. NASA began working on the SLS in 2011 after the cancellation of the Constellation Moon program. Originally budgeted at $10 billion, the rocket's debut was initially planned for late 2016. However, due to various challenges, including design changes, political hurdles, and budget issues, the first launch was repeatedly pushed back. Finally, in 2022, the SLS made its debut with the Artemis 1 mission, sending an uncrewed Orion capsule on a lunar orbit journey. Cost overruns. The SLS program has experienced significant cost increases. In November 2021, NASA's Inspector General reported delays and cost increases of $4.3 billion across three key programs: Space Launch System, Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, and Exploration Ground Systems. Each launch of the Orion crew capsule using the SLS is expected to cost about $4.1 billion. Efforts to refurbish RS-25 engines, manufacture new ones, and produce solid rocket boosters for initial Artemis missions have resulted in about $6 billion in cost increases and more than 6 years of schedule delays compared to NASA's original projections. Mobile launcher overrun. The mobile launcher for the SLS has also faced budget challenges. An audit suggested that its total cost could run as high as $1.5 billion, impacting NASA's Artemis program. In summary, while the SLS represents a significant achievement in space exploration, its development journey has been marked by delays and substantial cost challenges. Despite these setbacks, NASA continues its efforts to maintain a sustained human presence on and around the Moon through the Artemis program. In the proposed 2024 federal budget, the Biden administration targets investments in nutrition programs to combat hunger. Here are some key funding proposals. The Emergency Food Assistance Program, TEFAP. Commodities, food purchases. The budget requests $469 million for TEFAP commodities, an increase of $23 million from 2023. Storage and distribution. The budget requests $100 million for TEFAP storage and distribution, an $8 million increase. Farm Bill projects. The budget allocates $4 million for farm to food bank projects authorized by the 2018 Farm Bill. Section 32. The budget requests $1.5 billion for Section 32, which supports domestic farmers and producers. These funds can be used to purchase surplus commodities for federal nutrition programs like TEFAP and the National School Lunch Program, NSLP. Remember that the proposed budget is subject to congressional action, but these allocations signal the administration's priorities. In FY 2024, the president's budget targets nearly $10.3 billion in federal funding for homelessness assistance programs. This represents an overall 6% increase from FY 2023. Notable increases include DOJ, Transitional Housing Assistance Grants to Victims of Sexual Assault sees a 90% increase. HHS, Projects for Assistance in Transition from Homelessness receives a 64% boost. HHS, Healthcare for the Homeless gets a 23% increase. These efforts aim to address homelessness and provide critical support to vulnerable populations.